When was the last time you truly looked at yourself? Not just a quick glance in the mirror before leaving the house, but really looked. Most people go through life avoiding that kind of confrontation. They can look at their reflection, fix their hair, check their clothes, but they can't stand to look into their own eyes for more than a few seconds. Why? Because deep down, they know they're hiding from something, the truth, the person they've become, the person they could be. It's easy to point fingers outward, to blame the world, circumstances, or people who hurt us. But the mirror doesn't lie. It reflects everything we try to bury under excuses, distractions, and noise. And that's exactly why facing yourself is the hardest, yet most necessary thing you'll ever do. To love yourself, you have to know yourself, not the version you post online, not the one you perform for others, but the raw, unfiltered self that lives beneath all the layers of fear and pretense. Most people are strangers to their own soul. They spend their entire lives running from silence because silence exposes them. It's in the quiet moments that you hear the voice you've ignored, the one that says you can do better, or you're not living the way you're meant to. But instead of listening, we drown it out with noise, endless scrolling, shallow relationships, constant busyness. Anything to avoid the mirror, anything to avoid accountability, but here's the truth. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. You cannot love what you do not understand. The mirror is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. It shows you both your potential and your pain. And the moment you dare to stand still and meet your own eyes without flinching, that's the moment your transformation begins. When you look long enough, you start to see beyond the surface. You see the child inside you who once believed they could do anything. You see the mistakes that shaped you and the resilience that carried you through every storm. You begin to realize that you're not broken, you're just unfinished. And that's a powerful revelation, because it means you still have time. Time to become who you're meant to be. But that journey starts with brutal honesty. Ask yourself, am I proud of who I am when no one's watching? Do I respect the person I see? If the answer is no, don't run from it. That discomfort is not your enemy, it's your invitation. It's life demanding that you rise to your own potential. Most people never do. They choose comfort over confrontation, numbness over growth. But you have a choice. You can decide that today is the day you stop hiding from yourself. Look in the mirror and tell the truth, not the pretty truth, not the convenient truth, but the truth that hurts a little. Because that pain is the price of freedom. Once you stop lying to yourself about who you are and where you stand, you gain clarity. And with clarity comes direction. That's when real self-love begins, not as a feeling, but as a commitment. A commitment to become someone you can respect. If you can stand before the mirror and say, I know you, I see you, and I'm going to take care of you, then you've already done something most people never will. You've begun the process of becoming whole. Because loving yourself isn't about self-admiration, it's about self-acceptance. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's about owning your imperfections and still choosing to grow. Every great transformation begins with that single act of courage, facing yourself. The mirror won't always show you what you want to see, but it will always show you what you need to see. And when you finally stop running, when you meet your reflection with honesty and resolve, that's when you stop existing and start truly living. From the moment you were born, the world began whispering lies about what makes you valuable. They told you that your worth depends on your grades, your job, your looks, your money, your popularity. And without realizing it, you started building your identity on things that can be taken away. You were taught that love has to be earned, that you must prove yourself to deserve respect, that success defines significance. But what if all of that is wrong? What if the foundation of your self-worth has been built on illusions? Most people grow up chasing approval without ever asking themselves why it matters so much. Think about it. How often have you changed yourself, your words, your dreams, your behavior, just to fit in or be liked? How often have you silenced your truth because you feared rejection? That's the tragedy of modern life. We live for validation while starving for authenticity. We confuse attention with love, and in doing so, we lose ourselves piece by piece. You see, there's a difference between being valued asterisk for asterisk something, and being valued asterisk as asterisk someone. The world often rewards performance, not presence. It celebrates outcomes, not effort. And so, from a young age, you learn that if you achieve more, you'll be loved more. But here's the danger: when your identity depends on achievement, failure becomes unbearable. When your worth depends on approval, rejection feels like death. And when your self-esteem depends on appearance, aging feels like punishment. That's not love, that's bondage. The truth is, your worth was never meant to fluctuate with circumstances. You don't become valuable because someone praises you, and you don't become worthless because someone leaves you. You were born worthy, unconditionally, inherently. But the world doesn't profit from people who already feel complete. It profits from insecurity. It wants you chasing more money, more validation, more beauty, more success, always more, never enough. Because as long as you feel not enough, you'll keep buying, performing, proving. So you have to ask yourself, who benefits from your self-doubt? Every time you believe you're not good enough, someone else gains power over you. Every time you let society define your worth, you surrender control of your life. Real freedom begins when you take that power back, when you stop letting the world tell you what you're worth and start defining it for yourself. That means learning to separate your being from your doing. You can fail and still be worthy. You can make mistakes and still deserve love. You can lose everything and still not lose yourself. Because your value is not earned, it's recognized. It's already there, waiting for you to see it. And yes, that realization comes with pain. It means confronting how many years you've spent trying to be someone else's version of enough. It means acknowledging the exhaustion of living up to impossible standards. But once you see the lie, you can't unsee it. You begin to understand that the ladder you've been climbing was leaning against the wrong wall. The world will keep telling you that success equals worth. Let it talk, you know better now. True worth is found in character, not applause. It's in integrity, not image. It's in how you treat people when no one's watching, and how you treat yourself when you fail. When you understand that, you stop performing and start living. You stop begging for love and start giving it first to yourself, and then to others from a place of wholeness, not hunger. The most powerful thing you can ever do is to stop apologizing for being yourself. Stop shrinking to fit places you've outgrown. Stop believing the lie that you have to earn what you already are. Because when you finally recognize your worth, not based on status or success, but on simple existence, the world no longer owns you. You do, and that's when you become unstoppable. Comparison is one of the most subtle, yet most destructive traps you can fall into. It creeps into your mind quietly, disguising itself as motivation, whispering that you're not doing enough, not achieving enough, not being enough. You open your phone, you scroll through social media, and suddenly your own life feels smaller. Someone else has the car you want, the body you wish you had, the relationship you've been waiting for. You don't even realize it, but comparison has begun poisoning your sense of peace. You tell yourself you're just observing, just catching up, but deep down, you start to feel like you're losing. Losing a race you never signed up for. That's the danger. You begin to measure your progress with someone else's ruler. You forget that every person's path is different. Every chapter unfolds at its own pace. Yet you hold your life against theirs as if there's a universal timeline for success, love, or happiness. There isn't, you see. Comparison blinds you. It makes you see only the highlight reel, the polished, filtered moments that people choose to show. You don't see the anxiety behind that smile, the pain behind that success, the doubt behind that confidence. You're comparing your behind, the scenes with their final cut, and of course, it will never feel fair. But the worst part isn't even jealousy, it's distraction. Every minute you spend watching someone else's life is a minute stolen from your own. And it's not just social media. We compare everything: careers, relationships, families, even pain. We convince ourselves that someone else's story invalidates ours. They have it worse, so I shouldn't complain. They're more talented, so why even try? This mindset kills gratitude and creativity. It keeps you small because it convinces you that you'll never measure up. But here's the truth. Comparison is the thief of both joy and authenticity. You can't love yourself if you're constantly wishing you were someone else. The irony is that the person you envy might be envying you. They might look at your simplicity, your peace, your relationships, and wish they had what you have. That's how twisted comparison can become. Everyone's busy wishing for someone else's life, while neglecting their own blessings. The only person you should ever compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. That's it. That's the only comparison that leads to growth. Ask yourself, am I a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more disciplined than I was before? If the answer is yes, you're winning. You're evolving because life isn't a competition, it's a construction. And the only project that truly matters is *U**. When you stop comparing, something incredible happens. You start noticing your own progress. You realize how far you've come from the person who once doubted, hesitated, and feared. You start celebrating small victories instead of overlooking them. And slowly, your focus shifts from proving yourself to improving yourself. This doesn't mean you should stop being inspired by others. Inspiration is healthy. Comparison is toxic. Inspiration says, if they can do it, maybe I can too. Comparison says, if they're doing it, I'm behind. One empowers you, the other drains you. Learn to recognize the difference. Every person is running a race designed only for them. Some people sprint early and burn out fast. Others take their time, find their rhythm, and finish strong. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not losing. You're exactly where you need to be to learn what you must learn. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you reclaim your peace. You stop chasing illusions and start embracing reality, your reality. And when you do, something inside you settles. You start to understand that real happiness doesn't come from being ahead of anyone else. It comes from becoming aligned with who you truly are. Because when you're walking your own path with purpose, you're never in competition, you're already home. For most people, the hardest person to forgive is the one they see in the mirror. We walk around carrying years of guilt, shame, regret, punishing ourselves for mistakes we made when we didn't know better. We replay old failures like broken records, convincing ourselves that we deserve to feel unworthy. But how long will you keep beating yourself up for being human? How long will you keep holding yourself hostage to a past you can't change? Healing the relationship with yourself begins the moment you decide that you no longer want to live as your own enemy. You see, you can't love yourself and resent yourself at the same time. You can't build a future while you're still chained to what you wish you'd done differently. Every time you speak harshly to yourself, every time you criticize instead of encourage, you reinforce the belief that you're not enough. And yet, we do it every day. We say things to ourselves we would never dare say to another person. The irony is, we expect growth to come from self-hatred, as if shame could ever produce strength. But the truth is, You can't hate yourself into becoming better. You grow when you replace judgment with understanding. Think about it. If a friend came to you broken and defeated, you wouldn't tear them down. You'd remind them of their worth, you'd help them stand again. So why not offer yourself the same compassion, the same grace? Self-love isn't arrogance or self-indulgence, it's acceptance. It's looking at yourself and saying, I've made mistakes, but I'm still worthy of forgiveness. I've fallen, but I'm still capable of rising. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Healing begins when you start listening to the parts of you that have been silenced, the scared, the hurt, the disappointed parts. They don't need to be ignored, they need to be understood. When you stop running from your pain and start asking it what it's trying to teach you, everything changes. Pain, after all, is not your enemy. It's your greatest guide. It shows you where healing is needed most. And until you learn to make peace with your past, it will keep showing up in your present, demanding attention. It's easy to think that self-love is about bubble baths, affirmations, or positive thinking, and yes, those can help, but real self-love is about accountability and care. It's about saying, I deserve better, and then living like it. It's about setting boundaries, keeping promises to yourself, walking away from what hurts, and choosing what heals, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about realizing that every choice you make either nourishes or depletes your soul. You must become your own safe place. That doesn't mean you'll always like yourself, but it means you'll never abandon yourself. No matter how many times you stumble, you keep showing up. You keep choosing growth, because healing isn't a single moment. It's a daily practice, a series of small acts of kindness toward yourself that, over time, rebuild trust. And that trust is everything. When you start believing that you're worthy of care, your actions begin to reflect it. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop overextending yourself for people who wouldn't do the same. You stop waiting for someone else to fix what you were always capable of healing. The relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. If you treat yourself with compassion, you'll attract people who do the same. If you respect yourself, you'll stop settling for less. But if you constantly betray your own needs, the world will mirror that back to you. Everything changes when you finally realize that you teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So take a deep breath. Forgive yourself for what you didn't know, for who you weren't, for the times you fell short. You're not meant to be perfect, you're meant to be whole. And wholeness doesn't come from pretending to be flawless. It comes from embracing every broken piece and saying, you still belong. Because when you finally make peace with yourself, the war inside you ends, and that's when true healing begins. One of the most misunderstood expressions of self-love is the ability to set boundaries. People often confuse boundaries with selfishness, as if protecting your energy somehow means you care less about others. But it's quite the opposite. Boundaries are not walls built out of bitterness, they are fences built out of clarity. They say, this is where I end, and this is where you begin. They remind you that your peace, your time, and your emotional health are sacred. And learning to protect those things is one of the highest forms of respect you can give yourself. Most of us were never taught how to say no. We were raised to please, to accommodate, to sacrifice our comfort for acceptance. We learned early that saying yes earns love and saying no risks rejection. So we overextend ourselves, agree to things we don't want, and stay in situations that slowly drain the life out of us all because we fear disappointing someone. But every time you say yes to what hurts you, you say no to what heals you. Every time you choose peace for others over peace for yourself, you teach your soul that its needs don't matter. You cannot love yourself while constantly betraying yourself. You cannot honor your worth while allowing people to cross lines you never had the courage to draw. And make no mistake, people will take as much as you allow, not because they're evil, but because most are unaware.
They'll keep reaching until you stop them. That's why boundaries are not just about others, they're about you.
They're about having the strength to protect your inner world from being consumed by the chaos of everything around you. Setting boundaries will not always feel comfortable. In fact, it will often feel painful. When you first start saying no, you'll feel guilt. You'll worry that people will think you've changed, and they'll be right. You have. You've changed from someone who tolerates being drained to someone who prioritizes peace. You've changed from someone who needs approval to someone who seeks alignment. That's growth. Growth is not about pleasing everyone. It's about learning how to stop betraying yourself just to be loved. Boundaries don't push people away. They reveal who's meant to stay. The right people will understand when you say, "I need space." The wrong ones will call you selfish for daring to take care of yourself. And that's how you know. People who truly care about you will celebrate your healing, not guilt. Trip you for it. It's emotion here, not resent them. When you begin to love yourself deeply, you'll realize that peace is not negotiable. It's not something you beg for, it's something you enforce. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't only about what you won't allow. They're also about what you will. They define what you invite into your life: honesty, respect, kindness, reciprocity. They help you build an environment where love can actually grow, where connection feels safe rather than suffocating. Because without boundaries, even love becomes toxic. Without boundaries, even good intentions can cause harm. You owe it to yourself to draw the line, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You've spent enough of your life saying yes to what drained you. It's time to start saying yes to what sustains you. And that means learning to walk away without resentment, to protect your peace without apology, and to choose yourself without guilt. The moment you realize that boundaries are not rejections, but redirections, that they are not about control, but about freedom, everything shifts. You stop begging for respect because you start embodying it. You stop chasing love because you become it. And in that moment, you understand that the greatest act of self-love is not found in what you give to others, but in what you refuse to give away: your peace, your dignity, and your soul.
Loving yourself isn't about comfort. It's about responsibility.
It's about looking at your life and realizing that no one is coming to rescue you, not your friends, not your family, not some miraculous event that will suddenly fix everything. The truth is, you are the only one who can build the life you dream of living. And that starts when you make the decision to become the person you deserve. You deserve peace, but that means you must stop feeding the chaos. You deserve respect, but that means you must stop tolerating disrespect. You deserve love, but that means you must first learn how to give it to yourself in a way that is disciplined, honest, and unconditional. Becoming the person you deserve isn't a fantasy, it's a daily decision. It's the small, unglamorous choices that slowly rewrite your story. The early mornings when you choose purpose over procrastination. The nights when you choose reflection over distraction. The moments when you choose to stay true to yourself even when no one is watching. Most people wait for self-love to feel good before they act. But love, in its truest form, is not always soft. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it demands that you let go of comfort, that you walk away from people and habits that no longer align with your future. You can't love yourself and cling to your old identity at the same time. Growth requires shedding, and what you shed often feels like loss. But it isn't loss, it's liberation. Becoming the person you deserve also means confronting the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. The insecurities you mask, the fears you hide, the patterns you repeat. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Every version of you that's been hurt, neglected, or overlooked is still waiting for you to show up and say, "I've got you now." That's what self,
Love looks like in action taking responsibility for your own healing, rather than waiting for someone else to make it right. It's easy to talk about loving yourself, but love without discipline is chaos. Real love demands structure. It's waking up and doing the hard things because you know your future depends on it. It's keeping promises to yourself even when it's inconvenient. It's building consistency in the little things, the workout you don't want to do, the boundaries you don't want to enforce, the truth you don't want to face. Because every time you keep your word to yourself, you strengthen the foundation of self-respect. And when you respect yourself deeply, you stop settling for things that don't serve you. The person you deserve is not waiting in the future. They're hidden inside the choices you make today. The habits you build, the thoughts you entertain, the energy you allow, all of it is shaping who you become. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control what you do next. That's where your power lies. You don't need perfection to move forward. You just need honesty and effort. You need to care enough about your own potential to stop sabotaging it. So ask yourself, who would you be if you truly loved yourself? How would you speak? What would you tolerate? What would you chase? The answers to those questions aren't distant goals, they're daily actions. You become the person you deserve when your behavior starts matching your vision. When your words align with your values. When you stop living like a victim of circumstance and start acting like the creator of your destiny. And yes, it takes time, it takes patience, but slowly you begin to see it. The gap between who you were and who you're becoming starts to close. You begin to carry yourself differently. You stop explaining your worth to people who can't see it. You stop needing validation because your actions prove your value. That's what becoming the person you deserve looks like, not perfection, but progress. Not pretending to have it all figured out, but refusing to stay the same. Because in the end, the greatest love story you'll ever experience is the one you write with yourself. The story of how you stopped waiting for someone to save you and finally decided to become the hero you've always needed. So much of life is spent searching for love, chasing validation, trying to fill the emptiness with people, achievements, or things, but the truth is, everything you've ever been looking for begins with you. Self-love is not about arrogance or ego. It's about alignment. It's about building a life that reflects who you are at your core. When you finally stop fighting yourself, when you stop needing to prove your worth and start living from it, something shifts. The noise quiets, the chaos fades. You begin to move through the world with a calm confidence that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. You've learned to face yourself honestly, to stop believing the lies about your worth, to escape the trap of comparison, to forgive your past, to protect your peace, and to rise into the person you were always meant to become. That's the journey not of becoming someone new, but of remembering who you already are beneath all the pain, fear, and conditioning. Loving yourself doesn't mean you'll never doubt, never fail, or never feel lost again. It means that even in your lowest moments, you'll know how to come home to yourself. You'll know how to stand tall, how to speak kindly to your reflection, and how to keep walking forward no matter how heavy the world feels. Because at the end of it all, the greatest act of courage is not in conquering others. It's in conquering your own mind. And the most powerful form of love is not the one you receive, but the one you choose to give yourself every single day. So, ask yourself, not do they love me, but do I love myself enough to live the life I'm capable of? Because when the answer becomes yes, everything else begins to fall into place.